It began as an ordinary morning. A pale sun climbed over the horizon as ground crews moved with quiet precision across the tarmac. The air smelled of jet fuel and dew. Passengers boarded with the usual chatter, exchanging farewells, snapping photos, checking tickets. Flight 609 was scheduled for a routine journey across the continent, a flight so familiar that even the crew joked about how predictable it had become. The aircraft was a reliable twin-engine jet, recently inspected, captained by a veteran pilot with more than 20,000 flight hours. Nothing about this flight hinted at history. At 7:26 a.m., Flight 609 pushed back from the gate. The captain requested taxi clearance, and the tower cleared them for takeoff. Engines roared, tires lifted, and within seconds the aircraft was a bright silver streak climbing into the morning sky. For the first hour, everything unfolded perfectly. Passengers relaxed, flight attendants served coffee, and the first officer read weather reports showing clear conditions ahead. The plane leveled at 35,000 feet. On the radar screen, a tiny blip moved steadily east. At 8:17 a.m., the crew made their routine call, Flight 609 maintaining level 350. Air traffic control acknowledged. It was the last transmission anyone would ever hear. Minutes later, the radar trace of Flight 609 flickered once, then twice and vanished. Controllers assumed it was a momentary glitch. Radar echoes often fade and return. They waited for the signal to reappear. It never did. Controllers attempted radio contact, no response. They switched frequencies, silence. The supervisor stepped over to check alternate radar displays. The entire screen was empty. The aircraft had simply stopped existing in the electronic sky. Within 5 minutes, neighboring control centers were contacted. None had any trace of Flight 609. The radar had gone silent. By 8:30 a.m., emergency protocols were activated. Other flights in the region were asked to scan the horizon. Pilots reported clear skies, calm air, no sign of wreckage or smoke. For investigators, the clock started ticking. Every minute without communication increased the odds that something catastrophic had occurred. Search and rescue units scrambled from 3 countries. Helicopters, naval ships, and reconnaissance aircraft combed the projected flight corridor. Nothing. No floating debris, no distress beacon, no oil slick. The disappearance of Flight 609 was immediate and absolute. Families waiting at the arrival terminal were first told of a communication issue. Hours passed, phones stopped ringing, faces turned from curiosity to fear. By evening, television networks broke the news. A commercial jet had vanished from radar without a trace. Around the world, people watched as images of anxious relatives filled screens, reporters repeating the same haunting phrase when radar went silent. Experts struggled to explain how a modern aircraft could vanish in clear weather. Some pointed to catastrophic structural failure, perhaps an explosion or decompression. Others mentioned electrical failure, disabling both transponders and communication. But even those scenarios would have left debris, distress signals, or radar fragments. There was nothing. Day turned into night, and the ocean search expanded. Sonar arrays scanned the depths. Satellites re-examined data logs. Not a single piece of confirmed evidence surfaced. The official line remained missing, presumed lost. The captain of Flight 609, Daniel Mercer, was known for his calm precision. A former military pilot, he had trained hundreds of new aviators. The first officer, Maya Torres, was equally respected. Their professionalism made the idea of human error unlikely. The aircraft itself had passed inspection 2 days earlier. Fuel loads, cargo weights, and weather reports showed no anomalies. Every detail was textbook perfect until the moment radar fell silent. As days became weeks, speculation spiraled. Some believed the aircraft had suffered a sudden electrical meltdown, rendering it invisible to radar while still gliding somewhere far from its route. Others whispered of deliberate diversion, a hijacking, perhaps, or sabotage from inside. Satellite companies released partial data showing faint signals detected hours after the disappearance, hundreds of miles south of the expected path. Was it the plane, or just atmospheric noise? No one could say. In press conferences, officials appeared solemn but uncertain. They repeated phrases like systematic investigation and ongoing efforts. Behind closed doors, frustration grew. Every lead ended in nothing. Families demanded answers, holding up photographs of loved ones, pleading for truth. Psychologists working with the relatives described the disappearance as a wound without a body. Mourning, they said, requires certainty, and there was none. Without wreckage or proof, grief turned into obsession. Some refused to believe the passengers were dead. They imagined survival on an island, capture, or secret landings covered up by governments. Others simply stared at the sea, convinced that somewhere beneath its calm surface lay the truth. Months later, fishermen off a distant coast discovered a fragment of metal tangled in nets. Tests confirmed it belonged to the same aircraft model as Flight 609. But serial numbers were incomplete, corroded by salt. Investigators could not prove definitively it came from the missing jet. Still, it reignited global interest. The search resumed deeper, broader, costlier. Underwater drones mapped the seabed for hundreds of miles. In some areas, the ocean floor dropped to depths of more than 15,000 feet. Down there, light never reaches, pressure crushes steel. If Flight 609 rested there, it might remain untouched forever. A year after the disappearance, the official report was released. It concluded that without further evidence, the cause could not be determined. The words were clinical, emotionless, yet behind them lay one of the most profound mysteries of modern aviation. Independent analysts began reconstructing possible flight paths based on limited satellite data. One scenario suggested the plane turned sharply off course, flying south for hours before running out of fuel. Another suggested decompression, knocking the crew unconscious while the autopilot carried the aircraft into the void. Both theories fit fragments of evidence, but neither could explain why communication stopped instantly. Radar silence implies either total electrical collapse or intentional shutdown. Both are rare, both are terrifying. If it was a technical failure, it meant a chain of events so catastrophic that the plane vanished within seconds. If it was deliberate, then someone aboard had seized control. The thought chilled investigators. Intelligence agencies reviewed passenger lists. Every background was checked. No suspicious individuals, no extremist ties. The cargo manifest held nothing unusual: electronics, mail, food supplies. Yet the possibility of hidden explosives or contraband could never be entirely ruled out. As speculation spread, conspiracy theories filled the internet. Some claimed the aircraft had been shot down accidentally by a secret missile test. Others suggested it had landed in a remote military base hidden from the world. A few went further, linking it to electromagnetic anomalies or time distortions, theories born from desperation more than evidence. Years passed. Occasionally, new discoveries emerged: fragments washed ashore, strange sonar images, unidentified signals, but none confirmed. The sea kept its silence. Aviation experts agreed on one thing: the disappearance of Flight 609 changed the way the world viewed safety. New tracking systems were introduced. Aircraft began transmitting position data to every minute through satellites. Emergency beacons were redesigned to withstand deeper ocean pressures. The tragedy forced progress, but progress built on loss. For those left behind, anniversaries became rituals of remembrance. Families gathered near coastal memorials, releasing lanterns into the night sky. Each flicker of light symbolized a life that never came home. Their hope was simple: that someday technology or chance would uncover what truly happened when radar went silent. Journalists revisiting the case years later found themselves drawn to the small human details. A child's drawing found in a recovered suitcase, a voicemail never heard, boarding passes preserved in wallets. The human scale of the disaster kept the mystery alive in public imagination. Scientists analyzed atmospheric data from that morning. Some unusual readings showed brief bursts of electromagnetic interference near the last known coordinates. Could this have disrupted radar and communication simultaneously? The data was inconclusive, but it opened new lines of inquiry. Others examined micrometeorological phenomena, rare storms invisible to satellites, capable of sudden turbulence, but again, no proof. What made Flight 609 so haunting was not only its disappearance but the precision of its absence. Every trace deleted, every explanation incomplete, even the black box recorders designed to survive the most violent impacts never transmitted. To this day, search teams occasionally deploy deep ocean equipment during unrelated missions, hoping to stumble upon fragments of the lost aircraft. The human mind resists emptiness. We fill silence with stories, darkness with imagination. Some former investigators admit privately that they still replay the timeline at night, wondering what they missed. One described it as chasing a ghost across water. In aviation schools, Flight 609 is now studied as a lesson in uncertainty. Pilots learn about redundant systems, communication chains, emergency protocols, all designed to prevent a repetition. Yet, in the back of every pilot's mind lies the unsettling thought: sometimes even the best systems fail. Decades earlier, other aircraft had vanished similarly over oceans, deserts, and mountains. But Flight 609 was supposed to belong to a new era, one where technology eliminated mystery. Its disappearance reminded humanity that the sky remains vast and unpredictable. When researchers simulate possible last moments of the flight, they imagine a cockpit filled with flashing alarms, a sudden drop in pressure, or perhaps eerie calm if everything simply went dark. Some think the crew may have fought to the very end, trying to send one final message that never reached the world. Others believe the passengers never knew anything was wrong, drifting into unconsciousness as oxygen levels fell. The truth lies somewhere under miles of water and silence. Time moved on, but Flight 609 never left public memory. Documentaries revisited it, writers fictionalized it, and every new disappearance in the world drew comparisons. Each time a radar trace faltered, controllers felt that old chill, remembering the moment when a routine flight became a legend of loss. For technology experts, the incident remains a paradox: a perfectly functioning jet, clear weather, no distress call, and instant disappearance. The odds are astronomical, yet it happened. That singular fact continues to trouble the aviation community. A decade later, an underwater exploration company discovered a field of debris at a depth of 16,000 feet. Hope surged again. Cameras revealed twisted metal, scorched wiring, fragments of fuselage, but laboratory analysis showed the parts came from a cargo plane lost years earlier. Once again, the promise of closure dissolved into disappointment. Some family members turned grief into activism, campaigning for improved tracking standards. Their efforts led to international agreements ensuring no aircraft can vanish without a trace again. In that sense, Flight 609 changed the world not through discovery, but through absence. The ocean where the plane is believed to have gone down remains one of the least explored areas on Earth. Scientists estimate that more than 80% of its depths are still unmapped. Down there, wreckage can rest undisturbed for centuries. Currents bury evidence under layers of silt. Corrosion erases serial numbers. The sea keeps secrets well. As the 20th anniversary approached, journalists returned to the families for interviews. Most had accepted that they might never know, yet none had stopped wondering. One mother said, "It's not death that haunts me, it's not knowing where the sky ends and they began." Her words captured the essence of the mystery. In every era, humans have looked to the sky with wonder and fear. We trust the invisible radar, radio, technology to guide us safely. When that invisible world fails, we realize how fragile our certainty is. Today, when new pilots check in with control towers and hear the steady tone of radar confirmation, few think of Flight 609. Yet every pulse of that radar, every line of code in tracking software, carries the legacy of those who vanished when the radar went silent. And still, sometimes on calm nights, ships traversing that part of the ocean report strange readings, faint signals, blips that appear and fade like echoes of something just beneath the waves. Scientists call them technical reflections. Sailors prefer another term, ghosts of Flight 609. Whether those readings are real or mere coincidence, they remind us that mystery endures. The world may map every inch of the sky, but somewhere between signal and silence lies a story unfinished. Flight 609 remains suspended there not just in geography, but in imagination. It began as a routine journey, a line drawn between two cities. It ended as a question mark stretching across time. When radar went silent, the world was reminded that even in the age of satellites and certainty, the unknown still waits beyond the edge of the screen. And until the ocean yields its secret, the story of Flight 609 will continue to echo, a whisper of engines in the distance, a call unanswered, a reminder that sometimes the greatest mysteries are not in the stars, but in the silence between them.